welcome everybody. Thanks again for joining us today. This is unbelievably the 7th in the series, the career planning series for revenue management professionals. Great to have you all here. I can't believe it's been 7 weeks already. That is crazy. Obviously, we've been in lockdown for about 12 here in the UK. You know, the audience we have here normally ranges from, I think, sort of Brazil across to Kuwait. So we have had Singapore in the past. So hopefully we've got the same range of audience. Delighted today to welcome Thibault Catala. Thibault owns his own consultancy business. And I'll let him introduce himself because he'll do a much better job of that than I ever would. But he does an awful lot of work in and around the revenue management field with a whole range of clients in the hotel sector. Today is, well, as I said, the 7th. We've covered quite a lot of ground so far. I think one thing I would say for this week our subject is push the pace with technology. Be a guru where you need to be. I think from my personal side of things, obviously I run a revenue management recruitment business internationally. I don't and haven't done revenue management on a day-to-day basis. So actually the technology in terms of using the technology is probably one of my weakest areas of this whole career planning seminar series we'll do. So I'm going to pass this to Thibault quite quickly because it's very much more his expertise than mine. But I think what I probably could do today is really tell you about how some employers view technology and how the importance of being good in some areas will really benefit you. There are so many systems we use in revenue management that you can't be amazing at every single one. And I think it's, as we were saying earlier in this series of webinars, pick what you enjoy and what you're good at and what you like and what you want to do in the future and really get good at it. And that's what I'd say with this as well, with technology. So as always with these things, we're going to start off with a poll. You know, I like doing that. So a couple of simple ones today, you'll be pleased to hear. How would you rate your level of technological expertise? Excellent, good, okay, not great, awful. Okay, give you 5 more seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so there you go. They're the results. I guess to be expected fairly, in that excellent and good being probably stronger areas. Interesting that the okay and not great. So I think what I would say here is revenue management as a skill set and as a job, that the way that technology has advanced in the last 10 years has probably affected this job as much as it's affected any job, I think, in the world, really. And I think in the next 10 years, it will do the same with AI coming in and the way technology is really developing and going to be automating a lot of analysis and that type of work. I think getting good at technology is important. One thing I would say is I think it's going to be a little bit of time yet before AI gets to the point of automating everything. It needs to develop a fair way yet. And I think that at the moment, there are some areas where being very strong in some basic things, such as Excel and things, can hold you in very good stead when you're looking for jobs and trying to develop your career. So the second poll we'll do is, what do you use the most? Which of these systems do you use the most? And it's just a single choice, not multi-choice this week. PMS, RMS, Channel Manager, Business Intelligence Tool, Rate Shopper, Booking Engine, Excel. Might be a tough choice on a couple of them, actually, to be fair, but I've done that on purpose. And I've not put in CRS. I've not put in the reservation system because that tends to sit in the PMS nowadays, doesn't it? Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Share those results. Right. Okay. So the leader there is Excel, which I'm not too surprised about. And then PMS actually took a bit of an early lead as you were doing that, and then it got caught up. And BI tools. Okay. So I think that sort of sums my point up. And I don't think AI is yet at a point where it's taking, it's not taking away the analysis type work yet. And I think that Excel is still as important as anything in terms of what revenue managers need to know and develop. So it's interesting, the spread there of the different systems, and we do have a spread of seniority and even some people that are more revenue analysts and revenue managers, and I think some people that have a mixed role of reservations alongside revenue. So good to see. Right. So just for me to a quick overview, really, I think I'm not going to probably tell you here anything you don't know, but the technology at the moment is vast in revenue management, with the different systems that I've really just outlined. PMS with Opera and Infor and those sorts of things. You've got a CRS which often sits in the PMS. So SyncSys is a common one now. The RMS tools with Ideas and Duetto, Atomize, Pace. They're sort of newer ones that are coming through. Channel manager systems, SiteMinder, I think it's Channel Manager, Rate Shopper with Rate Insight by OTA Insight, and I think Amadeus do one as well. Booking Engine, and other systems that use business intelligence tools with Tableau and Revenue Insight. So you can't be an expert at all of these, as I was saying, and I think that you could add on to this Excel, because these are all the different systems you're going to use. Now, what I'd say to you is, when employers recruit, they will sometimes they'll come to us and say, I want someone who's good with Ideas. I want someone who's good with Tableau. If you don't have that knowledge or that experience, you can't do anything about it. So for this situation, I'm going to take those examples out. When employers generally recruit other than that, what will happen is you will be up against 2 or 3, 4 other people for whatever job it is you're going for. And this is the same internally as well, if you're looking for an internal move or whatever. And what you need to be able to do is think to yourself, whichever direction you're trying to head in, whichever area of growth you're trying to develop your career into, think about which system you're going to be using most in that process, in that direction. And that is where you've got to try and build your expertise. You want to be able to go into either any internal meetings or any interviews confident that where your strength lies is what the employer is wanting to hear. So what I think I'd say to you is, a lot of you put the different systems there and the different levels you felt you were in how technologically expert you were. And I think try and talk, we mentioned in earlier webinars, having a mentor, being open with your boss about what you're wanting to do in growing your career and the new skills you want to learn. And I would very much here look at technology as part of that growth curve. Talk to your boss about trying to learn more about the systems particularly you want to learn. You can't learn them all, so focus on what's going to be most benefit to you. The other thing I'd say here is there are big brands, and we spoke about cultures of big brands, small brands as well in previous webinars. Big brands have got very good systems, generally well set up, well organized, good processes. You can learn and see how systems should work. Often when you've got a good knowledge like that, a level of experience it's difficult to find is how to really make the most of that knowledge. We still have in the industry at the moment a lot of older brands or smaller boutique groups whose systems are not really that modern and that are not that up to date. But there are groups that are investing in it at the moment and are seeing the value in new systems. And so if you are looking for a new job, ask them about what they're doing with technology, because if they're looking to put in a new system and it's a system you've used or a system you're wanting to use, you'll find that the value that will add to your career is huge, because you'll be involved then in being able to set up a system, create it, allow it to offer you the information and have the setup, the mapping of what you want it to deliver. And that as an experience is huge. So don't always look for your next career move into a business that has the system set up, as long as that company is wanting to do something to improve their systems. That can be as good a learning curve and as good a career development as anything else. So I think that's what I'd say really is think carefully about your technology and which parts to really become good at. but do try to become good at them, because that will help you further down the line. So that's probably about as much as I can add, if truthfully. I think I'm without doubt have to pass you across to Thibault now. He very kindly, when I spoke to him a week ago, was happy to come and talk to us about what he does, and the client base he works with, and the sort of systems work and system situations he sees. So he's very kindly going to talk us through that, and I'll pass you across to Thibault now, and you should have control of the screen, so fingers crossed that's all yours.
All right, thank you, Roland. I'm glad to be here, actually. So let me try if I can change. Not sure if I can change, but that's fine. I will introduce myself, and then we can move the slides one by one.
Okay.
All right. So my name is Thibault. I'm French. So if you have anything that you don't understand, just make sure you write on the chat. Can you repeat? The French accent sometimes is hard to understand. So just raise your hand, so like, please, Thibault, repeat. I'm used to it. It's not an issue at all. So yeah, we have our own consulting company based in London. We do revenue management for medium-sized hotels across a portfolio of hotels across Europe, between UK, Portugal, Spain, Ireland. So we have like different across Europe. We do outsource revenue management mostly. We also look at revenue management audit, and more recently into RFP support and technology audit as well. So that's why it's linked as well to our discussion today. We have been operating for the last 2 years, slowly but surely scaling up. I mean, for the moment, most of my hotels are closed, as is the current situation. But the good news is that we start to see some reopening and some green shots in the next few weeks, few months. So hopefully we'll start to see a nice recovery. Okay. So that's just to give you an idea of what we do. My experience before, it's in revenue management. I've been working with Intercontinental for 4 years in Europe, in Portugal, and in France. Then I moved to Singapore, where I was working with Four Seasons Hotel and Resorts, where I was looking in revenue management for hotels in China, Japan, and Singapore. And then I quit everything. I opened up my own company based in London. So yeah, that's my experience, and that's me. So you want to go to the next slide?
Yes, of course.
Cool, perfect. Okay, so I really like this slide. Actually, it's I wanted to give you a perspective of why it's important to look at technology when you look at building your own skills, and why it's so relevant today that revenue manager evolve from the revenue tactics to more strategy perspective, to leverage the technology as much as possible, and then evolve as we move forward. Because again, the landscape of revenue management and distribution is becoming super duper complex, and therefore revenue manager needs to evolve and change as we move with the technology. So again, revenue management moved from descriptive to prescriptive. Okay, so you can see like the SpongeBob, which is super nice and quiet at the beginning. Descriptive revenue management is just like, here's what happened, just like a revenue manager crunching numbers on reports and just showing what's going on, but not more, just here's what happened. Then you have a next step, which is more a predictive revenue management. Here's what we're going to do. So SpongeBob is getting angry. And then the next step, where we should actually be in revenue management, is more the prescriptive revenue management, the full blast muscle of SpongeBob. Here's how we achieve our goals. So it's very important to have this proactive approach to revenue management, and not only rely on report and analytics, but to strategize what you're going to do next to achieve your goals. Okay, so it's very important. It's a change of mindset in the last few years that we have been seeing in revenue management. Okay, so the fundamentals of revenue management remain the same. So you still have the economy 101, supply and demand, price, and so on. However, the approach has changed because the technology has become such a big part of the revenue management discipline today. As Roland mentioned, you have rate shopping tools, you have PMS, cloud-based, legacy systems, revenue management system. We are doing like optimal pricing for the next 65 days, by room type, by day, almost in real time. So you have a lot of new advancement in technology that help us move from descriptive to prescriptive, and more focusing on revenue strategy. Okay, and for sure in the next few months, and again as of today, we see more and more digitization and use of AI. So I'm quite sure the revenue optimization will become, it will grow in complexity. It will become more a science than an art, I would say. So again, it's very important to understand and optimize the technology to help you level up and focus on what you can add value to the hotel on the revenue strategy. Okay. So if you go on the next slide. Cool, perfect. So again, just to a recap of the current technology landscape in hotel, it all starts with your PMS. Okay, the property management system. That's why I was surprised not to see more PMS user where we spend most of the time, because the PMS is actually the heart of everything on a hotel stack. And then once you have your PMS in mind, you can add some different components. Very important, but you need to add a different component based on your PMS. But the PMS is the heart of everything. You have channel manager, business intelligence, RMS, as I mentioned, booking engine, website, CRM, and as well any upselling tools. But you have thousands, if not like millions of other systems that you can connect to the PMS. Okay. I will say, like, when it comes to technology, I will look to build your own tech stack. Start with which kind of PMS you want to use, be it Opera. Okay. But you see, like, my second sentence was more about the end of the legacy systems. So I've seen for my client where we have been moving out of Opera into more PMS, like cloud-based PMS, such as Muse or Apaleo, where you can actually connect a lot of different partners, like a marketplace of different partners. So it's the end of, you need to decide on what technology stack you're going to use, and then you are stuck for the next 50 years. It's the end of this kind of approach. So it's a very, looking at building your own tech stack, being dynamic, trying what is working for you, being curious and do some experiment, and connect different RMS, connect different business intelligence, what is working, see what is working and see what is not. But it's very important to be very agile when it comes to technology stack. And you will see, like, you will have different feeling and how to use it, more user-friendly, less user-friendly, different pricing. But it's very important to keep agile and try different approaches. So again, it's moving from the fixed legacy system to a more agile and dynamic approach when it comes to technology. Okay.
Thibault, we had someone put their hand up actually, and I missed who it was.
That was my French accent, most probably.
No, truthfully, I can't see how to find them. Actually, I can't see where. I'm just trying to see actually, or I might be able to see in here. Who it was. Was it Giancarlo? So I don't know. Maybe perhaps didn't do it on purpose. But if anyone, I was just going to say, if anyone does have any questions, please feel free to pop them into the chat window, and we'll come to those as we go along. So I can't see who put the hand up now, but sorry to interrupt. But just if anyone has got any questions, please put them in the chat window. That'd be great.
Okay. I mean, in terms of technology, you mentioned the big one, PMS. I will look to the new usual suspect in a way with Muse, Apaleo, Channel Manager. You have the big one, which is SiteMinder, and you have more like Synapses, business intelligence, as you mentioned, Tableau, Power BI, Looker. You have quite a few events now. Pace, Atomize. You have some business intelligence working on. Revenue management system. You have Ideas, Duetto, Pace, and Atomize. So you have different one. Booking engine websites, you can be linked to your PMS or different providers. CRM, you know the usual suspect as well with Salesforce and HubSpot and so on, Pipedrive. And upselling tools, you also as well have Oki, mostly Oki, that's the main one that I will recommend on this one. So again, you have a lot of different players, see what is working, see what is not, do some test and experiment. Even at the same time, you can connect two RMS at the same time and see what is best for you, but make some tests and experimentation, I will recommend. On the next slide. Cool. So again, I think what is very important, yes, of course, the technical skills on your revenue management career are very important. However, I will say, like, on my side, I will decide on a good revenue manager, a good candidate for a revenue management position, mostly based on the soft skills. So soft skills are the main skills that you need to develop to be a good revenue manager. So being like a leadership, communication, and everything. So soft skills are very important. And now when it comes to technology, that's something that you can learn. You can actually go on Udemy, on LinkedIn Learn. You can learn actually a lot of tools. So even on the academy of different tools, you can actually learn a lot. Okay, but what is important is to be aware of the system out there and to understand how they function with each other, how they integrate with each other, which kind of data are moving from one system to another. Okay, and sometimes when you are working for a corporate, I'm talking from experience, you just send an email to the corporate office saying like, oh, I want to connect this system, or I have this rate which is not working, can you fix it? And then suddenly, boom, it's magic, it's fixed everywhere on OTA, it's fixed on your PMS, but you don't see how it works. And then when I moved from the consulting business, I find out that you need to find out from the smallest data, this rate moving from one system to another and so on. So you understand like the full ecosystem of distribution. So it's very important. And if you don't understand how it works, ask questions. Being corporate, being a vendor, being whatever, ask questions how it works. It doesn't have to be this kind of black box that no one understands and we just rely and we trust. Ask those questions. I think it's super important to understand like how it works behind. So again, I would say a small trick that we have been using for making sure we decide which vendor to go with, and we support a client with a RFP, request for proposal for new vendors, and to build their own technology stack. We have been using the weighted decision matrix, where you have different criteria. So let's say like you want to use technology which are easy to use, based on your cost, the time to implement, API-friendly vision, but you can add whatever you want. And then you will decide on which vendor, which tech you want to go. So let's say like PMS, you'll go with Opera, Paleo, News, Stay in Touch, Clock, whatever. You list all of them. And then as you move with the different bids and different proposal, you will rank them with the different values that you believe. So it's like tech one, they have different score, tech two, and so on. And at the end of the day, you will see which tech ranks the best. Okay, but it's very important to understand all the criteria and look at this kind of rational and data-oriented approach when it comes to deciding on which tech you want to use. So make some research, be very curious to new tech startup, new tech software, because it's moving so fast and even faster than you may think. But it's very important from a revenue management perspective to be aware of what's going on out there. Okay. So it's a small one. You can replicate it on Excel very quickly, and you can add as many criteria as you want, but it will help you decide on the tech that you want to build. Okay. And on the next slide, cool. So this one is more on method that we have been doing at Catala Consulting, our process of outsource revenue management. So that's the process we go through and the method that we go through for the outsource revenue management, but it can help you for any kind of method and approach to revenue management in general. So first, we spend some time on when we take over an hotel, we spend some time on understanding how the hotel and the market works. Then we move forward with more objective and key results. If you want to put it in another way, target and budget. We spend a lot of time on review the technology operation. So that's why technology is so important to understand not only historical pattern, market segmentation, performance. Technology is a big part of revenue management. Okay, and then our approach to revenue management has been to leverage the technology as much as we can to automate the tactics when it comes to pricing, forecast, reporting, everything that the machine, unfortunately or fortunately, I don't know, are doing better than us at the moment. And for us to take more and to spend more time on the revenue strategy. Okay, so we first review the full tech stack and operation to see if it makes sense or if we have some way of optimizing, because again, the ROI, you can see having a good RMS, having some automation on dynamic pricing or on forecast, it's actually, you can see some increase of 10-20% just by implementing the right system. So it's very, very important to have the right tech stack in-house. Automate as much as you can the tactics, reporting, pricing, forecasting, and you as a revenue manager, you need to focus more on the revenue strategy, on the demand generation, what we can do to make it happen, to make our targets happen. And if there is some correction to do, the system cannot do it at the moment. Maybe later on, robot will do it for us. But for the moment, you need to focus on revenue strategy and adjust your strategy as you move forward. And constantly review your performance, and as well as constantly review your tech stack. Because the tech stack is what was working maybe last year, maybe this year or in 5 years, you will have a better tech stack that you can leverage and use. So again, keep this mindset of being agile and try different approach. That would be my main recommendation.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Thibault.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, that's great, and really interesting to hear. I mean, interesting. Just on that, when you're talking there about, and we've actually mentioned in previous webinars as well how, obviously, with the introduction of AI, there'll be less analysis, as it were, done manually, and more by the technology, and therefore it will become more strategic. So, when you're talking to people who are looking to develop their careers, what advice would you give them in terms of what systems to maybe become an expert in? Because short term, we're still using Excel a lot, and obviously at the beginning, the system, so people are still using Excel, and I have employers now that say to me, I have to have someone good on Excel. So short term, there is a challenge that people have to be good at Excel, but actually longer term, we're probably going to get away from that a bit with the systems doing more of it. So what would you say to people about their learning curve and maybe what they need to develop? Do they need to develop a better understanding of the RMS long term? What would your thoughts be on that?
Yeah, I mean, that's a very interesting question. So again, going back to this one, I would say like having a full understanding of all the full landscape is working in the hotel, or they are communicating to each other. That's super duper important. Yes, Excel is still very important in revenue management, fortunately or unfortunately, I don't know. But I would say like take some approach to maybe Power BI, Tableau, or Looker, or try just to be curious and see how you can automate and create your own report on those kind of stuff, because sooner or later you will have to code and move towards this direction, or more business intelligence. And something myself and our team have been focusing on to try to evolve and focus on, it's on database and as well on SQL. That's something like we have been trying to get our understanding, still at an early stage, and actually it's more complicated than I was initially thinking. But I think it's moving towards this direction of automation of database, extracting the data directly from the PMS and I mean, it's great what you can do today. You can actually, your pickup report, you don't need to do it manually and sending to the hotel anymore. You can automate it directly from the different systems. You can create your own database. You can create your own last year same time base from this database. Or if you don't want to build it yourself, you can go with different third-party providers. But I think it's important to get an understanding of everything works. I always say like database, SQL, at one point, machine learning, sales forecast will be very relevant as we move towards this AI machine learning. So yeah, a lot of different skills that I'm looking forward to develop. And again, it's not only based on data, it could be as well, if you have some revenue meeting, to automate this kind of presentation that you're doing. So you can actually automate your database to automatically update the presentation or the report that you want to send to the owner. So you can actually save a lot of time by doing such.
Yeah, okay, that's good. We have a question from Inna. Hi Inna, nice to see you again. What systems like Salesforce or digital marketing tools, how important is it for revenue managers to understand the basics of main tech in other key departments that revenue managers work closely with? I think a good question.
Yeah, okay. What about some like Salesforce marketing? Okay. I mean, Salesforce, you're talking about the CRM mostly, I guess, or more like, because I've been using as well Salesforce as Delphi, but I would say like on a CRM is super duper important, because if you need to understand your markets, who you're targeting, your different customers, and I would say like revenue management personalized is very important to make sure you have the right message and the right strategy for the right market. It's not something like you have one strategy that fits all. It needs to be super duper personalized. So I think like you need to leverage those kind of tools like Salesforce or any digital marketing tools, even Google Analytics, to understand like who is looking at your website, which kind of countries. You can even look at if they are male or female, or can you look at which kind of spending behaviors they have. And the more information you have, the better prepared you will be to orient and guide your strategy. So I think it's super duper important to work in correlation with revenue management, sales and marketing, and all the tools behind with the CRM and digital marketing tools. Always important. Yeah, go ahead. Hold on, sorry.
So I was just going to say, well, interestingly, data science, which is in itself now a separate sort of thing that's coming along. Actually data science in itself, its techniques are based around sort of analysis of large amounts of data and then interpreting those and getting the knowledge from them to then be able to make decisions. In a way, that's the definition of what revenue managers have had to do for however long. So data science is really using exactly the same techniques that revenue managers have. So when you were saying there about using Salesforce and using other systems from elsewhere in the business, that's where I think revenue management is going to change. And we did mention a couple of webinars ago how the analytics side of revenue management is going to go, actually setting the pricing for sort of analytics is going. AI will do that. But the analytics will come in more of a data science side. And what I was saying to everyone here was, if you love the analysis, if you love the problem solving, revenue management might not be the direction you end up going in, because that's going to be more strategic and more communication with different departments, and it's going to be much more big picture thinking, whereas the analysis will be data science. Data analytics is going to go off in a slightly different hub, and that will be then looking at what the data's telling you from across the business. You know, your website, your CRM, your customer segments, your what do the customers spend in your hotel on each stay. You know, it will go down to such detail that you'll be able to then offer personalized offerings to people before they even know they want them. And that's where the analytics is going to change. It's going to move away from revenue management analytics to more general data analytics, I think.
I agree. I mean, I don't know if you have seen the IHG personalized pricing. So it's very similar to or attribute-based pricing. I think it was slightly different. But you have your personal pricing. I wouldn't be surprised to see actually some booking engine that's depending on the computer you're using, or depending on your spending behavior on Amazon or whatever, we're going to push different room types or different packages in front of you based on all the data we have. So for example, if we recognize a booking engine from the CRM that you have been staying with us before, and they will show you some executive suite that you have been using in the past before, or slightly above, it will be highly targeted. And I think those kind of approach and to have a synergy between all the systems are super duper important. And that's more the direction that revenue management is going. And I wouldn't be surprised actually to see more and more revenue manager position evolving from the typical background of hospitality management towards more mathematics or scientist or engineer into this kind of, very similar to the airline industry, I would say. And I would say like hospitality may be moving to this kind of role. And then you will have the sales and marketing or a new position of revenue strategist. I don't know. Evolving. So I think it will be evolving this way.
I agree. Well, and actually our business, we're slightly evolving from revenue management. Actually, we're evolving the revenue management and data analytics because we've had a number of clients say we've helped them with revenue managers, and then they've actually said, actually, can you help us find some data analytics people as well? So we're slightly evolving in line with that, funnily enough. Ina's got another question as well, which is great. So in terms of looking at total revenue management, I suppose, looking at, F&B, spa, meeting and events, all the other ancillary revenue options, is there enough variety of products to support revenue managers with that ancillary revenue?
I think it's a very interesting topic and a very interesting question. Unfortunately, I would say no, not enough in my opinion. A lot of focusing on the rooms revenue management, but it's because the industry is focusing on rooms revenue management because that's where you have most of your profitability. But if you look at the big brands, and for years now, they've been missing sometimes their budget, not because of room revenue, but because of F&B or because of spa, or because of the events, meeting and events. So we say like everyone is missing a big part on the ancillary revenue, because the profitability and revenue are still very small compared to the rooms revenue management. But today you don't have much tools. You have some, but not enough in my opinion. We do get involved with revenue management for, in terms of total revenue management. But again, we spend a lot of time on revenue management because the knowledge and the education on still revenue management as a whole is still very basic when it comes to independent hotels and so on. So we spend a lot of time on education, trainings to make sure everyone understands revenue management, creating the right culture, and then we step by step we evolve to rooms revenue management, to F&B revenue management, to spa and golf and so on. But revenue management is applicable to everything. In terms of tech products, actually it's funny that you say this because I've been myself working on the revenue management platform for restaurants. I 1% believe on the dynamic pricing approach when it comes to ancillary revenue for golf, parking, restaurants, bars. I think it will come in the next few years actually quite at a very fast pace, and everyone is starting to look into this tool. Even the parking ideas, I know that I've been working on parking. I'm not 1% sure about the golf, but I think like parking they're getting into, and F&B at one point they will get into as well. So
well, I think also with the pandemic, with COVID-19, car parking where people don't have to get public transport, means there's a lot more value on car parking, and also F&B with the whole safety measures and exactly how they're going to manage getting numbers into the restaurants and things. Again, the dynamic pricing can have quite a big impact on that. So it might speed. So about 3 weeks ago, I don't know if you ever come across Jose Butragueño. Do you know Jose at all?
Which one?
Jose Butragueño. He was at NH Hotels and Melia in Spain, and he's now a senior advisor at Deloitte.
Ah, yes, yeah.
And we were talking about the future of revenue management, and a big part of that was total revenue, and how actually in 10 years, total revenue management was spoken about 10 years ago as being the future. And yet really in 10 years, it hasn't really moved forward much. And that's a lot of that we were saying was down to, there's a lack of integrated technology for all parts of it. And that seems to be, that's an area. So anyone listening here, if yes, Mark, yes, nice to see you, Mark. I know you're Mark wrote a really good sort of overview actually on another webinar he was part of actually about how specifically revenue management is going to impact car parking and things. So yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we were talking then about, if anyone here I think wants to develop their career, if you can generate or you can create a fully integrated total revenue management system, I think you've got a fortune that will come your way. So there's a challenge for everybody.
I think yes and no, because the market it's still at a very early stage. So we still need to spend a lot of time on education, because people say you don't know what you don't know, in a way. So meaning like you still need to develop a strong understanding of why revenue management is so important, and then it will evolve step by step. The same as airline, the same as hotels, the same as taxis now. So step by step, it will come in different industries.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
You want to talk about parking revenue management. So parking revenue management is actually super interesting, but I would believe it's the same approach than hotels when it comes to forecasting. I'm quite sure you have some very similar trends and pattern from your performance that you can exploit. Not necessarily to see some surge pricing where you jump the rate 300% because you know there's an event next to your parking, but I would say like a few adjustments here and there, weekdays, weekends, maybe an hourly pricing depending on the different events that you can do, but make sure you cap it in a minimum maximum to avoid this kind of surge pricing. But parking is actually super important and super interesting to see, like a few cents here and there can make a big difference at the end of the day.
And I guess one last question for me actually, Thibault, is of all the companies you work with and the different companies you've seen, from a technology point of view, what makes the companies the best companies? You know, if you could say this company had the best setup, what made that company good? So in people here could think to themselves, okay, if I could get involved with improving our systems, what could they do that would make their company good? What have you seen that's made a company good with their systems?
Okay, I mean, the best one I've seen was the one, again, we've been doing a lot of experiment and test with a system. Not the one where I've decided to go with I wanted to mention someone, but with a big names and stuck to it for the next 50 years. I think like the best one I've seen are the one where continuously changing and updating the tech stack with the best in class, because you have so many players in the market that you keep moving, you keep integrating this one, you disconnect, you reconnect, and you do another one. So the one who have been very agile and lean in their approach are the one who are succeeding quite a lot. So the best tech stack, without mentioning any names, are the ones that keep evolving with time, and the ones that you continuously optimize from one year to another. And that's super important to keep moving forward.
Good. Well, I don't know if anyone else has any more questions. If you do, please feel free to pop them in the chat window. Probably should have put Thibault's contact details up on the screen slightly earlier than I have, but there you go, everyone. You've got them there now. And actually, if you need them, please feel free to drop me an email or phone call, and I'll happily pass them across. And I'm sure Thibault will be happy to take any connections on LinkedIn from people. It's always good to build a network for the future and things. But I'd just say, look, thank you very much. It's really great to hear, your thoughts and knowledge on, I guess, the technology side and what people are doing. I think from my side, I would reiterate that there are always situations where employers want someone with a particular system or particular knowledge, and you can't, if you haven't got it, you can't do anything about that. However, building your knowledge and being good at the core part of what technology is for your job will hold you in good stead. And I think at the moment, I would say develop your Excel skills, because that's still quite central to what we're doing. And I think will be for a good 5-6 years, I think, before AI really kicks in. And I think, from that, my view actually is I'm hearing more and more about Tableau. So if you can get any involvement with Tableau, or if your business is looking at implementing, you know, a new BI tool or that sort of thing, then recommend Tableau and try and get involvement of it, because it seems to be one of the main ones that's really coming through, I think. So that would be my advice. So, so Thibault, thank you very much. We're honoured for you to join us. Thank you so much. Next week, we are looking at, I think, one of my favorites, and this is much more about you as an individual, less about revenue management per se, but more about creating a brand of you. It's important but fun. And also I'll incorporate into that the sort of self-belief, really, because creating a brand of you is really about getting involved with what's going on in the industry. And that could be getting involved in conversations on LinkedIn, becoming parts of groups or associations, and building your profile and being seen as someone knowledgeable and wanting to be involved in the conversation. I'll help you look at LinkedIn and how you can use LinkedIn to help you in that. And that is a really good opportunity for you to, I would imagine with some of you probably see what I get up to as well and why I do certain things, because you'll see what I do and why. But that should be really good, and a really good opportunity to help you build your brand, because the idea of that is if you can become known in the industry a bit more, or have things on LinkedIn which give you credibility, what you'll find is people might come to you with jobs and opportunities rather than you having to go hunting anything else. And as a career prospect, that makes your life an awful lot easier.